everyone, to the Recharge Chair Wellness Series. I'm David Pearson, Vistage, COO of Vistage, and today's moderator. Hey, this is the second webinar we've done in this series that has been introduced for Vistage chairs. And while you remain focused on the goal of helping members make great decisions that benefit their companies, their families, their employees, and communities, we also know that this situation has put an incredible amount of stress, on you and your families. Vistage is dedicated to providing the best resources to serve you and the needs of your Vistage members. And that's the same for you and taking care of you as a person. To ensure that you have the support that you need to stay healthy and strong, we're really excited to bring this new webinar series to you. Twice a month, we'll have an expert that comes from the Vistage community who's going to share tips on how you can take care of yourself. Today's focus is on personal health and wellness. And I'm really pleased to be able to introduce our speaker, Dean Rosson. Dean is the president and founder of Strong Potential. It's an Atlanta-based consulting firm specializing in powerful transformation through health and wellness. Dean is a professional business speaker and a nutrition coach, and he's invested more than 2 decades in the field of health and fitness. As an author, a business speaker, a certified sports nutritionist, a certified fitness trainer, and a competitive bodybuilder, he's got a lot of titles here, Dean specializes in transforming individuals, companies, and organizations to improve productivity and lower their healthcare costs. Hey, as we're going through this his presentation, if you have any questions for Dean, take a look at your webinar panel and you'll see a questions section. Please go in there and just type in your question. I'll be monitoring the questions throughout the session, and at the end we'll get a chance to ask Dean some of those questions. So please pop in there and ask questions throughout the session. I'll remind you at the very end. I also want to let you know that Dean has also included some handouts for today's webinar. So if you want to take a look at those and follow along and take notes, you can do that. If you look at that webinar panel, you'll also see there's a handout section, and you can pull them over from right there. So with that, Dean, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thanks for being here with us.
Our goal right now is to talk about being better, stronger, and more productive, and yet things are changing. Things are changing rapidly, and so what does that do? It creates a level of stress. And so I want to ask you, are you feeling stretched today? A lot of people right now are very concerned. And you know what? That's a normal emotion, but there's something that happens when we start to feel pressure and we feel like we do not have control. Things begin to happen, the economy, the COVID-19, stress and fear. Fear could shut you down. You've heard the phrase, paralyzed by fear. And unfortunately, the people that you work with, your group members, are experiencing a level of fear that they didn't even know that they were going to experience. It was thrust upon them. And now you're in the responsibility of navigating all of that with them and sometimes for them. But so I've been doing a lot of research over the last year about what happens with fear. And so literally stress, the symptoms of stress are very powerful and even corrosive on the human body. It literally affects the body, your thoughts, feelings, and your behaviors. Stress can contribute in many health problems such as diabetes. Now wait a minute. Stress can contribute to diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, and obesity. And that's one of the reasons we're getting together today, because we could end up stronger, more productive, and even better, more clarity of thought on the other side of this quarantine, of this dilemma that we were put into. But it doesn't have to be a negative as much as it could be. We could make some serious changes right away. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you several very powerful points that I can guarantee you. 1, you can implement them immediately. And 2, they will begin to work right away. You can literally start this as every diet, as every program, Monday. So we can start this on Monday. So have a great weekend, get it out of your system. But here's one of the things that I believe is more important than anything else, is the way we think, our mindset. It's called a wellness mindset. As a matter of fact, a lot of times people say to me, they go, okay, I believe you. What do I do? What do I start to do? Now, Tony Robbins has it's called the 5 keys of change. He says number 5 is what? The what do I do? Which is where most people start. He says, don't go there first. Where do we start? It's this. Why? The first point The first key to life change is why. So in other words, he calls it the compelling why. So I ask you today, why are you on this call? You obviously were, you read the topic and it's something that you're interested in, but there's a reason you're here, and I'm glad you're here. And so here's what I want you to do is develop the mindset, and then communicate that with your family, communicate that with others. But right now, it's about you. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the mindset for just a few moments. The wellness mindset is very powerful, and having that positive mental attitude towards health. This is from Harvard Medical School. They say it's one of the most important things a person can develop in their lifetime. Those who are wellness minded have more energy, better health, greater chance of success, and an overall happier life. Now think about this. Wellness mindset, that's not what you do, it's who you are. And so I want to start with that. It's who you are. It's what you are. You wake up in the morning, you haven't even exercised yet, but you're the healthy person. So it is a mindset. As Zig Ziglar used to call it, it's a checkup from the neck up. And so we want to make sure we focus on that. Now, here's something that's interesting is a couple of weeks ago, we had water damage here in our house. And we had about 5 or 6 years ago just renovated and just put a lot of effort and energy into completely renovating our basement and made it one of our favorite areas of the home. Well, we had water damage right above where I'm standing, and it was in our kitchen. And all this water just started coming down, and I was shocked. It only took a couple hours, and it almost destroyed the whole thing. But here's what happened. I came down, I noticed the damage. Did I immediately say, we got to start vacuuming up with a wet vac all the water? Did I say, let's start repairing the drywall? No. Here's what I did. I stopped the leak. I stopped that which was doing damage. So what I want to do is focus today also on identifying and stopping those items that do the opposite of what we just saw, which is more energy. We could actually do something that creates low energy. It saps the energy out of each one of us. It literally sabotages our own success. And we're definitely not happy. And it all comes down to a mindset and choices. We are the sum total of every choice we've ever made. But what is it that we're referring to? Is that basically each choice is either brings with it benefits or consequences. And so basically, here's what it boils down to. Success is a series of good choices. Obviously, that's why we work with Vistage. We work with people who know how to make good choices. The quality of your health is a direct proportion to the quality of the choices you make every day. So what I want to call it is a trajectory. You can make a choice that sets your health and wellness on a certain trajectory. Now, if you're like most people, what is in the trajectory? Where are we heading? Heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, dementia, Alzheimer's, and a host of other illnesses that could be waiting for us downstream. But we can make other choices, smarter choices that could literally change the trajectory, even by just a few percentage points, that could radically change our life. Now, let me just get to the point on a few issues. I am formerly obese. I was a fat guy. I was a fat guy all my life, but I'm 100% Italian. So that explains why not only was I overweight, but also what was on my menu. I used to eat carbs, 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 and carbs. I was eating nonstop bread, pastas, potatoes, rice, corn. I was eating more bread every day. And I began to realize something, that carbs metabolize into sugar, but it was fat-free, I thought. I followed the food pyramid that the FDA and the USDA guidelines came out with, and I followed these guidelines, and I kept getting bigger and more overweight. And then when I was 33 years old, I realized something, that I needed to do something. I needed to limit or eliminate those starchy carbs. Well, I began to lose weight very quickly, which is something nobody in my family ever really did, was lose weight. We either gained weight or maintained. So here I am losing weight, and everybody thought I was sick. They said, Dean, you look hungry. You look all sunken in. Is what's her name not feeding you? I said, her name's Angela. We're doing just fine. And so everybody thought I was sick. but I was actually in the best shape so far in my life, and I was feeling better. My energy level was increasing. The clarity of thought was just literally better than it's ever been. Well, literally then by the time I turned 40, I had entered some bodybuilding competitions. Then when I turned 50, I was actually making exercise DVDs. And now I'm going on 65 years old. Eventually. Well, actually, what I'm saying is I'm going to be 56 years old in June. I was born in 1964, graduated high school in 1982. And yet today I have more energy, more clarity of thought, more vibrancy than I did when I was in my 20s and 30s, which is not the way things traditionally go. So let me give you the entire plan. This is the Dean's Wellness Plan. Okay, what is that? It's this. It's simple, and that's the key, is simple. Not easy, but simple. Let's break it down. I'm going to give you 10 points that we're going to follow. At least I want you to have them. Limit carbs and sugar. We just discussed it. Eat more dietary fat. Eat more dietary fat. Well, my doctor said not to. The FDA guidelines say not to, but I'm going to prove to you today that we need to eat more and not less dietary fat. I want you to also, everybody on this call, and even people you know, try to engage in 3 days a week or more of weight-resistant exercises. Then I want us to move more, get out, high-intensity interval training with cardio. We're going to talk about HIIT, high-intensity interval cardio. And then, of course, consume more vegetables, sleep over 7 hours a night. I can guarantee you that one right there, to sleep at least 7 hours a night, is probably in the top 2 issues, problems, roadblocks that most of us have, is getting sleep. And I'll admit that's mine as well. But still, I do studies on this, and I work with sleep clinics on these issues, and I work with them, and I give seminars for them, and I have problems sleeping. So sometimes it's work, and sometimes it's just not there. So, but our goal, though, is we have to realize what happens when we sleep 7 hours or more. Prepare foods in advance. That's crucial. Stress reduction. We're going to talk about that. Eat clean. Lean and clean protein, and then, of course, drinking water, at least 64 ounces of water. But here's what I want to do for the sake of time. This is not a normal Vistage meeting, which is 3 hours to develop all the points. No, we're going to focus on only 3 items. What are those 3 items? Limit carbs and sugar, eat more dietary fat, and weight-resistant exercise. Those 3 we're going to discuss. We're going to drive that home. Okay, let's start off with this. When you eat a carbohydrate, it could be any carb, it could be a piece of bread, it could be a bagel, rice, corn, pasta, potato, everything you can imagine, starchy carb, it metabolizes into sugar. And here's the deal, a lot of times people don't realize this, but there really is 77 consequences of sugar consumption. Now, everybody here will be receiving a PDF with all 77 consequences of sugar. And we're going to go over a couple of those, but in that PDF, it has all the documentation. Each one was individually researched and determined that this is deadly. So let's just look at what we have here. Now, I also want us to realize that, or I should say, remember what these are. Suppresses your immune system. Folks, have we not been hearing about immune system? We've been discussing this. We've been hearing about it, that those who have what's called compromised immune system are the ones who are the most susceptible to the COVID-19. And so what we're also hearing is this: those who are elderly and have a reduced or suppressed immune system. Well, here's what I've been studying, because I work with senior citizens, literally over 400 of them, and at any given time we'll work with 30, 40, 50 at a time in a big exercise program that we run here in Atlanta. And here's what we found: those who let nature take its course find themselves becoming candidates of things that they've been trying to avoid. Don't let nature take its course. Put up a fight. So sugar will suppress your immune system. Did you ever hear number 2 is sugar feeds cancer cells? Sugar feeds cancer. Now, if anybody on the call, or your spouse, or your members, or the member's spouse, or somebody in their organization has ever had cancer, were they ever told that sugar feeds cancer? I'm going to quote MD Anderson from Texas. They say this. They say sugar feeds cancer. It's the main cancer feeder. And then they go on to say, by cutting off sugar, you cut off the main food supply to the cancer cell. Sugar feeds cancer. It's an inflammatory. You suffer with arthritis, tendonitis, plantar fasciitis, or anything else that ends in itis. Well, I promise you this right here, this slide alone, if you were to limit or eliminate the processed sugar, that was worth your time today, because you will literally take the edge off, if not totally reverse, much of what you're going to the doctor for. Plus, think about this, anxiety and difficulty concentrating. We have enough reason for anxiety. Sugar could amplify that and make it worse. Cardiovascular and heart disease. Wait a minute, again, I thought dietary fat is what caused heart disease. We have found that inflammation, which is right above that, is what's going on in the heart as well. One of the main reasons for heart disease is sugar. Remember, I said I had a water leak. The first plan of attack is to stop that which is doing damage. We had to stop the water leak, turn the water off, find the problem, fix the problem. Now we're free to do everything else. And of course, LDLs, wait a minute, I thought dietary fat raised LDLs. No. Sugar, we're going to find out that everything that we believe might be the opposite. Might be the opposite. No, here's what I want you to do. If you have a pen near you, or you have something, if you have a computer, you can start typing. I want to make this slightly interactive, where you yourself are engaged by listening and also participating. Here's what I want you to do. Think about and write down just one or two issues that happen when you personally eat bread, cereal, carbohydrates, pasta, big plate of pasta, potatoes, all those carbs and those items that we eat. Okay, you eat the carb. How do you feel shortly afterwards? Write that down. Right down. How's your clarity of thought? How's your energy level? Well, what I've done in the last 16 years, I've actually asked all the Vistage members in every group, when you eat a bagel or you start your day off with cereal or some of these other, even a fruit smoothie and apple juice and all these other dead carbs, how do you feel? Well, I've actually taken note of literally over 16 years, thousands, if not hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, but thousands of people who are your members. And I asked them, how do you feel? And here's what they said, and it's in order too. They said clouded thinking, low productivity, tired or sleepy, they'd get hungry again, achy joints, there's that inflammation, depressed, cranky, and then some people combined a few with angry and hungry, and they made it hangry. So that wasn't a misspelling word, that's what they said. So what I want to make sure that we realize is this is having all the negative effects that we're trying to avoid. Sugar is causing. Some of us are going to the doctor to get medications thinking that we have a serious problem. And I promise you, even if you do have an issue with arthritis or inflammation or heart disease, if you eliminate the sugar or cancer and stop feeding the cancer cells, you literally not only might save your life, you could go into remission and everything could change for you. Now, remember all those. Remember what we just said. That's important. That's going to be an anchor point for what we're going to talk about. Remember, what are we talking about today? 3 items. What are those 3 things? Limit or eliminate sugars and carbs. 2, it's going to be eat more dietary fat. And 3, the third one is weight-resistant exercise. So what is the glycemic index? I'm sure you've heard of the glycemic index. And I always ask folks, I go, who's heard of the glycemic index? And literally almost everybody raises their hand. I said, okay, tell me, what is the glycemic index? And everyone's like, I don't know, I've just heard of it. Well, let me show you what it is real quick. This is the glycemic index. And what that is it's from 1 to 100 on a chart. How high does your blood sugar level rise from 1 serving of 1 carb? Now, again, most of us eat plenty of carbs. Like we'll go out and we'll have pasta and bread. And so we're compounding the carbs. And then we eat multiple servings of carbs because a serving of pasta is a cup. And I've never seen anybody eat only a cup, ever in my life. And yet that's what they say is a serving. So here's what happens. We eat a carbohydrate. It goes into our body, metabolizes into sugar. And then we go on this roller coaster of blood sugar levels. And then insulin drives that blood sugar out of the blood and shunts it to other locations. And then we end up with a blood sugar level crash. And then we're tired and unproductive. So folks, I promise you, you might have noticed this when you're out and you're in the process of going through your day and trying to do your one-to-ones and follow up, and you got to still get new business as you're making your calls. You're feeling fatigued, and so you think, man, I need to eat some pretzels or something. And then you feel even more tired. And then who knows, you might do more coffee and put more sugar in it. So here's what happens. Okay, notice the blue bar below 50. Now here's what it is. In order to, this is the secret of your success, is to stabilize your blood sugar, not highs and no lows. In other words, you're eliminating all the problems, the leaky faucet. You stop the flood, you stop the damage, and now we repair. So those items that are giving us high glycemic responses, limit or eliminate. Few and far between. That's all I used to eat. And so that's what I want us to do. So what is your take home? It's simple. Limit or eliminate carbs. And so let's look at what are those carbs. I have a whole list for you that I want you to look at, and this is part of your handout, is all of these items. Carbonated soda, one of the big ones. White bread, fruit juice, white rice, ice creams. I know it's the weekend. Starting Monday, we can get started on this. Here's what I did. I started to limit or eliminate those carbs, and I started to drop weight so quickly, even I was shocked. All right, so number one, limit or eliminate carbs. Number two, do you remember what that was? Yes, it's eat more dietary fat. Now, wait a minute. Eat more dietary fat? Somebody on the line is probably thinking, wait, I just went to the doctor and they said we've got to cut back on the dietary fat. You're reading all these articles and information from the FDA and the USDA saying we've got to limit fat. As a matter of fact, if you follow the original food pyramid, which don't do, that's what I did, and that's how I got into the mess I was in. But if you followed it and read it, it says, and I quote exactly, use sparingly. They're telling us to limit the amount of carbs. And here this guy, Dean, shows up and he says, eat more. I promise you something. If you remember the list we gave, clouded or diminished thinking, problem-solving skills, everything about us. But what does the Vistage members in your group say? Yeah, but fat is bad for you. Fat will raise your bad cholesterol. Fat makes you fat. That was a slogan in the 80s. Fat makes you fat. Fat makes you fat. I read books called Fat Makes You Fat. That's the name of the book. Heart disease. We found out that the FDA guidelines were wrong. Now, I'm not anti-FDA or USDA. As a matter of fact, they're doing some pretty good things right now with the COVID-19 and some of the things that they're engaged in. But I will say this: when it comes to your health, when it comes to the guidelines for nutrition, if you did the opposite of what they are telling us to do, I will promise you everything that you're trying to avoid will be successful, and you will will feel much better. So here's what I do. Here's what I want you to do as an exercise. Would you do this? Would you grab your iPhone or your computer, and I want you to do something. Okay, because here's what I do. I literally have everybody take out their iPhones right in the middle of a meeting. I say, Google this, and it's this: benefits of MCT oil. Benefits of MCT oil. Now, what is that? And I want you to go ahead, Google it. I really want you to do that. Now, as you're doing that, as you're looking it up, I'm going to tell you what I did this morning. Okay, I wake up in the morning in very early hours because I get my workouts in. But I wake up in the morning. What's the first thing I do? I actually have a bulletproof coffee. What's a bulletproof coffee? I take piping hot coffee and put it in a blender. Then I take, are you ready for this? Kerrygold Irish butter, loaded with saturated fat. I take a tablespoon of that and I put it in my coffee inside the blender. Then I go ahead and I take MCT oil. And now if you don't know how to spell MCT oil, just text David and he'll let you know how to spell MCT oil. But I put a tablespoon of MCT oil and then I put a little packet of stevia and I blend it up to a frothy goodness. Why in the world would I do that? Well, some of you who are already online and you've already logged into benefits of MCT oil, you have found this. Now, this is saturated fat. It's better brain and memory function. Go back to the original. Let's compare and contrast. We talked about eating carbohydrates. These items, the breads, the pastas, potatoes, rice, corn. What happens? Clouded thinking. You follow the food pyramid. What's it say? Eat 6. This is per day. Eat 6 to 11 servings of bread, cereal, rice, pasta every day, and it's going to make you have clouded thinking, fatigue, inability to concentrate. You feel hungry again. You're gaining weight, inflammation. But let's look at what we got here. Compare and contrast that. Better brain and memory function. The exact opposite. More energy. It boosts your energy and increases your endurance. So if you're an athlete, and after today, I hope you are. That's my goal. If you're somebody who wants to be healthy, we're going to need dietary fat. And yet we found out that those starchy carbs that we're told to eat, those are actually causing us to feel low energy. This is saturated fat. What does MCT stand for? Medium chain triglycerides. Medium chain triglycerides. If you told your doctor, a traditional doctor, say, yeah, I'm loading up on medium chain triglycerides, they would have a heart attack just hearing you say that. So here's what I want you to do is quietly put some in your coffee, put some in your protein drink, put some in on your salad, eat it all day long, and it'll promote weight loss, not weight gain. We heard that carbs or fat makes you fat. Here we find out it's weight loss. It improves weight management. It lowers your cholesterol. What's the one thing that people are dogmatic about? When it comes to fat, they say it's going to raise your cholesterol. And folks, let me emphasize, MCT oil, which you get at any health food store, you buy it on Amazon, get it at Costco. MCT oil is saturated fat from the coconut primarily. Okay, it lowers blood sugar levels. The exact opposite of carbs, which raises blood sugar levels. Manages, okay, get this, epilepsy, autism, Alzheimer's. Yes, folks. See, the problem is when we have a low-fat diet, we experience the opposite of what you see on that screen. Now, it's kind of surprising, I know. Here are 5 surprising benefits of fat. These are 5 surprising benefits of fat. Fat is essential for the brain. The more fat you eat, because your brain is over 67% of your brain is made up of fat. And when you eat a low-fat diet and a high-carb diet, it affects your clarity of thought. But I want you to eat more fat because it helps with your brain. It keeps the lungs working properly. What does that mean? Inside the lungs is a lining of saturated fat. And when you keep a low-fat diet, all of a sudden people start to experience asthma. And if you have asthma today, and you keep a low-fat diet, it's going to flare up. What would you say if I told you that you might be able to mitigate the asthma and even emphysema by having a higher fat diet? It boosts, here it is again, immune system. We keep talking about your immunity. We don't want to compromise our immunity. Sugars and carbs metabolized into sugar will compromise immunity. It's good for your heart, not bad for your heart. And it actually is good for your skin as well. I have 101 benefits of coconut oil as another one of those PDFs that I want to send out to you. So this is it. These are healthy diet, healthy fats that I want you to eat. Coconut oil, MCT oil, olives and olive oil, flaxseed, almond and fatty fish, nuts and seeds, avocados. As a matter of fact, we eat an avocado every single morning. And at night, we have another one, or at least half of it, on our salad. Natural nut butters. All types of different nuts can be made into like a peanut butter style. Whole eggs. You heard that correctly. Now, if you're not a vegan or a vegetarian, I want to recommend that you put some bacon on there too. You're welcome. And of course, cheese. Okay, so let's go through the 3 main points I want us all to focus on. Number 1, limit or eliminate those starchy carbs and sugar. Eat more dietary fat. And number 3 is weight-resistant exercises. Now, why weight-resistant exercise? By the way, you can tell this gentleman here is still in quarantine. But anyways, so why weight-resistant exercises over everything else? Well, first let me say, I believe all exercise is good. So if you're a runner, if you're into Pilates and yoga, I say keep doing that. But the American Council on Exercise, which is ACE, A-C-E, the American Council on Exercise, which, by the way, the president is a Vistage member. I spoke to his group, and he was just an awesome guy. And so they have determined, and they are a huge organization. If you have a trainer at a gym, he or she is probably ACE or NASM certified. And so ACE has has researched this to no end. This is on Harvard Medical School. This is on WebMD. You can find it everywhere. And yes, you do have the PDF that goes with this as well. They have studied this, and we have found this, and some of you have found this to be true. After the age of 30, we all begin to go through a physiological shift. And what is that shift? Each one of us begins to lose a half a pound of muscle every year just because we're alive, and we begin to gain half a pound of body fat every year just because we showed up. So here we are in our late 30s, 40s, 50s, or beyond, and all of a sudden everything just feels different. It looks different. You don't have that energy you used to have. What happened? Your weight might still be the same, but you had a body composition shift. So let's realize something. We are losing muscle, and there's only two ways to gain muscle. Two ways, it's actually one way, two sides. The first way is weight-resistant exercise and the amino acids found in protein. That's it. That's the only way to gain muscle. So we need just to stop aging to lift weight. So if you're a cardio person today, which don't get me wrong, I do cardio all the time, but weight training is where we need to be. And I'm going to go over some of those details. Okay, so let's talk about this. Number one, be healthy, wealthy, and wise. Some of us are wealthy and wise, but I want you to be super healthy. The exercise will do some amazing things for you with weight resistance. Let's just look at some of these. And again, I want you to remember what we talked about with carbs, and then you had a high-fat diet, and all of a sudden, it literally helps to prevent high blood pressure, heart disease, osteoporosis, which is bones that are porous and brittle, fragile. This is what happens to our elderly. I believe every senior citizen should be lifting weights, even if it's just 1, 2, and 3 pound dumbbells. But how much more so you? And it doesn't matter what your age is. My kids who are 19 and 21, they work out at least 3 to 5 days a week. And I want them to keep that habit. It literally helps with it. It prevents insomnia, diabetes. Carbohydrates causes, the number one cause for diabetes is lack of activity and carbs, sugar. It helps with arthritis, cancer, and stroke. So let's break this down with what that's physical. What about mental and emotional? Let's look at what we have here. Okay, weight resistant exercises has been proven. This is, by the way, the Harvard Medical School has proven that it reduces depression, anxiety, and stress. Anybody here feeling or working with your members who are feeling depressed, anxiety, and stress? Even when David was giving introduction, we were talking about that with stress. We've discussed that on the phone through the last couple of weeks as we were just preparing this about the stress level that almost everybody's under, but especially the chairs. So here we are then. Exercise has been proven to increase energy, focus, and stamina. So if I know I have an important day, which is every day, but if I also have an important meeting, I make sure that earlier that day or whenever I could, I got that workout in. Plus exercisers are happier, healthier, and live longer. How could you beat that? And yet we go to the doctor and spend just so much money on getting meds and treatments, hoping that we get what taking 2 dumbbells in the morning will give us. So let's break it down. Here's what I want you to do. These are some tips. Number one, try if you can to get at least 3 days a week. Again, let's go back to ACE, the American Council on Exercise. They have determined that if you do less than 3 days of exercise, you won't get the traction. So I want to strongly recommend, especially if you are just starting, try to force yourself, commit yourself. Remember, mindset, a wellness mindset. You have an appointment every morning with the dumbbells, and you're going to get in 3 days a week. And then use free weights. I know some of you just bought a really nice piece of equipment and it cost you a fortune. But what I'd like to do is just encourage you very strongly to use free weights because it works with your body. The free weights are mostly geared for your personal physiology, and machines only simulate what you could do with dumbbells, and they don't even simulate it very well. I want you to do this. Cardio second. I want you to lift weights first. What do most people do? What do most executives do? They go to the gym, or when they used to, now they go to their basement, and they get on the treadmill for 45 minutes, and then they go to lift weights for maybe 10 or 15, even if they don't even have the energy. But here's what I want you to do. lift weights first because your fuel is glycogen and you need glycogen to lift weights. And it takes about 30 to 40 minutes to burn up the glycogen stores, which are in your muscle. Then your body becomes a fat burning machine. I want you to get on the cardio machine, and every step you take, you'll be burning body fat. So think about this. Most people go to the treadmill, the elliptical, the bike, and what happens? They're not burning body fat, they're burning glycogen, the very substance, the very fuel that your muscles need to lift weights. So what's the next one is lift weights appropriate to your fitness level. Please make sure that you don't develop an injury. Some of you might be getting very excited right now and motivated. That's my goal. However, take your time. I'm more concerned about where you are next year at this time than where you are next Friday at this time. And if you go too fast, too heavy, too soon, you might find yourself hurting yourself. And we don't want that to happen. So I want you to also slow it down. I want you to go slow and controlled with the movements. Slow it down. And then also on top of that is work the negative. What do I mean by that? You see, your muscle is a fiber. So when we slow it down, we work the entire muscle, but there's muscle fiber reserved for the negative motion. Some people just lift and drop it, or they just let gravity take over. We got to work the entire muscle when doing our lifting. And then of course, the last rep is the most important. What does that mean? Science has proven, physiology has shown us that every rep leading, just say it's 10 to 12 reps, every rep leading to that last rep is just preliminary to get to the last rep, because you want to be strict on your last rep. So please remember that. And then little rest in between. In other words, don't be waiting all this time or trying to quote recover. Try to make it cardiovascular in nature. And then when it comes to lifting, start with 20 minutes and then try to get to, if you can, to 45 minutes, 3 days a week. And then as you progress and get stronger, what I want you to do is to try to get it to 5 days a week, 45 minutes. And I have the workouts for you. They're all on the PDFs. Now, this is very simple. It's just not easy. So I just want to make sure that we recap and talk about this. What is the SMART plan? And by the way, this is the last known photograph of Einstein before he passed away. He started getting involved in weight resistant exercise, and that's when he came up with some of his most brilliant ideas. Call it a coincidence. Okay, so what are these brilliant ideas? Limit or eliminate carbs and sugar. Eat more dietary fat. And then I want us also to have weight resistant exercise. It truly is smart. Now, here's something that I wanted to do is a lot of times in the Vistage meetings, and especially the chairs, they always ask questions like, can you tell us a little bit about testosterone, and is it too late to build back the testosterone? Well, I actually have a plan for you. So if you're not taking notes yet, I promise you're going to want to take notes on this one. This is an extra bonus. This is a bonus slide, if you would, or tip above the top 3. It's how to increase testosterone. Now, ladies, if there's ladies on the call, and I know there is, after the age of about 30, everything begins to shift, and you know this. Literally, you start hearing the doctor use words like progesterone, writing prescriptions for Synthroid, Armour, or other issues dealing with thyroid. So I'm going to give you a plan right now that I guarantee has been proven. Everybody who has participated in this plan has increased their testosterone and growth hormone, and ladies, they've stabilized their their estrogen levels, and that's where we need to be. So what is the number one thing? Number one tip is weight resistant exercises. It's true. Weight resistant exercises, now especially what's called compound moves, which would be multiple body parts working. That would be bench press. By the way, it doesn't matter your age or gender. I'm talking to everybody. Bench press, dumbbell bench press, slow and controlled and heavy. It has been proven that compound moves, when you're working legs, back, and chest, the largest muscle groups, is that those 3 that really help to produce testosterone. Now, this is something important. We have been told for years to keep a low-fat diet. If we keep a low-fat diet, we will actually choke off our hormone profile. In other words, gentlemen, one of the best ways to increase your testosterone is to lift heavy free weights and to eat a high-fat diet. Why? I'm going to use some medical terminology. Dietary fat is the precursor for hormone production. Therefore, if you keep a low-fat diet, your hormone production, which by the way controls every function of your body, can you see where this is going? All these years we were told to keep a low-fat diet, and now we find out that it literally is the exact opposite. So I want you to keep a high-fat diet, and all of a sudden your hormones will begin to thrive. It creates an environment for them to actually function even better than your age. What is the next one? Okay, we talked about this at the beginning. 7+ hours of sleep. What does that mean? When we go into deep REM sleep, which is usually traditionally between 12 and 4 o'clock in the morning, a.m., midnight to 4 a.m., that is when our metabolism, I should say our hormones, our testosterone, growth hormone, and estrogen, that's when everything stabilizes and then it actually recalibrates. So literally when you wake up in the morning, that is when your testosterone levels and your estrogen levels are either the highest or the most stable. That is the time of day. So here's the deal. If you are sleep deprived, if you're not going into deep REM sleep, it's going to have an effect across the board on every aspect of your life, but also your testosterone. And testosterone, gentlemen, is what we need to be vibrant, to have muscle fiber, to be aggressive in a professional sense, to be competitive. If we have low testosterone, it kind of it makes us a little bit more mild. Now, here's something I want to make sure we understand, and that's the issue. That's number 4 is stress. If we got to have stress reduction. Why? Because of the issues of cortisol. First of all, stress is very corrosive to your body anyways. It was written 3,000 years ago that it could rot the bones, which we found out is true. Cortisol has been known, which is a hormone, cortisol is known as the evil twin brother to testosterone. And the more cortisol you have, the more it tamps down our testosterone. So think about this. We're already experiencing low testosterone. We're already going into that time where life is beginning to slow down because of age-related issues. What does cortisol do? It changes our mood, motivation, and fear. It makes us more fearful. It also is our fight or flight mechanism. It shuts down your digestion, which you don't want to have happen. It literally shuts down your metabolism, your reproduction system. Your reproduction system, that's a polite way of saying your testosterone and your ability to be intimate because of cortisol. Your immune system, there it is again. So what is our 3 issues? Number 1, keep a high-fat diet. We'll have to make sure that we have a limit or eliminate carbs and weight-resistant exercise. Folks, I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to join you today. I'm going to turn it back over to David. And David, thank you again for this opportunity.
Dean, I really appreciate it. I appreciate your energy, and I'm going to do some of those things and hopefully get the energy that you have. Hey, we have a few questions that have come in. I'd like to pose them, but I want to remind everybody on this call, if you go to your GoToMeeting panel on the side of your screen, you'll be able to type in a question right there. And please type in questions. We'd love to ask Dean directly. Hey, Dean, the first question here is about when you talk about weight resistance, is it always with free weights or additional weights? Or is body weight enough? Can we just use body weight?
Great question, and thank you very much for asking that. And the answer is yes. Free weights is great, but also body weight is weight. And so it's putting pressure against the muscle. So you could literally just, that right there, what I'm doing now is considered a weight resistance where it's pressure, push-ups, dips, pull-ups, body weight. You can even do isometrics, and the answer is absolutely. But there's something called progressive resistance. So as you go along the next couple weeks, months, etc., you're going to get stronger. And if you get stronger, now your body is looking for something heavier to lift because you adapted to the load or the weight load that you're placing on it. And the worst thing you want to do is create what's called adaptation. Your body's looking to adapt. So that's why I believe in both. In other words, go and purchase, they're only 98 cents a pound when they're back in stock, by the way. But we have 7,000 pounds per location here in Atlanta of all the gyms that we own. And everybody has dumbbells, full range, but we also do body weight. But they get stronger, and so they have to go and lift heavier. And you will get stronger. So the answer is both.
All right, thanks, Dean. Great advice. Hey, I got a question here. It says, I've heard that as you get older, you need more rest between lifting weights to give your older body time to recuperate. Many of our chairs are older. How frequently is appropriate for somebody over 65?
Exactly. And now keep in mind, it's got to be appropriate. So in other words, don't start right away in no rest and what we call supersets. I'm very, very, very cautious. One of the things I tell everybody, and if I'm working with somebody one-on-one, my goal for them is to hold them back. So I appreciate that comment. And the answer is yes, our connective tissue, our ligaments, we're not playing a college game anymore. We have to be appropriate. Our goal is simple. Get stronger, not weaker. If nothing else, we stop the muscle loss, even if you just hold on to what you have and keep working out to build that back. So you do what is appropriate to you and never put yourself in danger. And as time progresses, experiment just a little bit and see how you feel.
All right, thanks, Dean. Hey, somebody asked about where to find the handout. I just want to say over on the right side on the panel, when you look at the go-to panel, maybe on the left right side, but that's where it is for me. You'll see a little handout section. You can click handout and you'll see it right in there. Otherwise, we'll send you the handout after when we get done. In about 24 hours, you'll receive it. Hey, I have a question here about the diet side of this, and it's how does the diet you're recommending differ from a keto diet?
That's a great question. Well, here's what I believe. First of all, it's similar in many ways. I believe in keto. Keto has been proven to work. But here's something that you're not hearing about, which I want everyone to realize. If you do choose to go into keto, we have to do what's called cycling. In other words, you go into keto for a week or two, and then you come out of it, not going crazy with a lot of carbs, but just clean carbs, maybe a banana or maybe a small bowl of oatmeal, and you physically, purposely come out of keto and then go back into keto. It's better for your hormones, it's better for the weight loss in the long run, and it is simply better for you. Now, here's my big picture take home. If you just eat real food, get rid of all the garbage carbs. Get rid of them. You don't need them. Now, don't get me wrong. If you want a cheat meal every once in a great while, that's a different story. That's fine. But for the most part, your normal go-to default setting is real food. We've solved virtually every problem that most of us are struggling with. And then if after that you choose to go into keto, I'm fine with that. But we do have to cycle. It's been proven 100 times over. If you go into keto and stay there, it will in the long run start to break down some of the hormone production, and we don't want that to happen because the very thing you're trying to help is actually going to be hurt. So I want to make sure we know that. So it's similar. A lot of every year or two, someone goes, this reminds me of, and they mentioned the latest diet. And the way it always works is it clean food and real food. That's it. And usually that's whatever the next diet's going to be. This diet will resemble that too.
Excellent. Do you recommend protein shakes?
I do actually, and I do recommend making sure, and I'm going to give you a name brand. They don't even know I'm recommending them. I don't make a penny by recommending them, okay? And I did know the owners back before they sold it twice. Okay, so here's the way it works. And it's Optimum Nutrition. That's the name of the company, Optimum Nutrition. They now sell it at Costco. But this brand, the product that I'm going to recommend, it's called 100% Gold Standard Vegan. Though I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian, and I respect those who are and work with those who are, what I have found and my wife has found that this particular brand, 100% Gold Standard Vegan protein powder, I recommend vanilla because it mixes better with everything that you want to put in it, is one of the cleanest and the highest grade you could have. Now, some people might be thinking, but what about the whey protein I just bought? Good, clean, high level, what's called pharmaceutical grade whey protein is amongst the best protein. However, if you're lactose intolerant, that might have an effect on you. So I just want to make sure you realize that if you have achy joints or you're feeling cramped up, that protein powder might be contributing to that, even though for what we call a healthy person who does not have lactose intolerance, that would be a great protein for them.
Excellent. Hey, when you talk about fat, are you talking about animal fat? Are you recommending heavier on the side of animal fat?
I'm actually talking about more, and I even have this on my regular slides. Focus on plant-based fats. Focus on those. In other words, percentage-wise, tilts into plant-based, and then second in line would be fish and every fatty fish. Then after that, yes, once or twice in a week or less, if you choose, you could have what we call land-based animal fats. So yeah, I don't mind if somebody is part of the diet, because literally fatty meat, and we just had lamb for Easter, fatty meat is very good for you. The question is, was it around since the dawn of civilization? Yes. And I'm more concerned about the packaged, processed, canned garbage items that are manufactured in a laboratory that we're putting into our body. Like, for example, there is no fruit in Fruit Loops. You can read the ingredient list. There's none. And so, but we'll eat those. And they'll say, you got to be careful with the fat. I'm like, no. Let's get rid of those, the garbagey cereals and the colas and things like that.
I have to get my kids off those processed items. Hey,
I absolved you of your calories.
Yeah, don't buy it. Hey, I like this one. If I want to eat some unhealthy carbs, such as scones or cookies, is there a better time to eat them during the day? I do have a sweet tooth.
Okay, thank you. That's something we bring up in a lot of the presentations. It's called timing, or it's important not only what you eat, but when you eat it. So thank you for that. I would highly recommend, for those of you with the sweet tooth, you've got to do what's called front load your carbs. What does that mean? Start the day, I should say earlier in the day, because any sugar, scones, cookies, whatever it is you're going to eat, if you eat those earlier in the day, you'll have time to burn it off, utilize it, process it. But the later the day goes, in other words, after 2 o'clock, that's how early later in the day is. Anything you eat after 2 o'clock, your biorhythms will slow down. And all of a sudden, you'll find that you're not able to digest as well. And any sugars left in your digestive tract, which is going to be quite a bit after 2, when you go to bed with sugars and carbs still in your system, most of that will be stored as body fat. But if you ate the scone and those other items earlier in the day, breakfast, lunch, earlier, 10:30, and don't go crazy, but if you are going to have it, eat it earlier. So the answer is yes. Very good question. Thank you for that.
Early. Good. Hey, I hope we can help this person. He says, I have a sleep issue, spontaneous arousals, which prevent me from getting much REM sleep. As a result, my cortisol levels in the morning are off the charts, literally. Any thoughts for me?
That is great. And here's what I'd like you to do. Whoever you are, I want you to text me or get in touch with me. I would love to dig down deep, because there's many questions that needs to be asked. I could throw something out and it'll probably just skim across the surface. But if you're willing, I would love, and this is free, I'm not saying become a client, I'm saying if you're willing to reach out, I need to ask questions in advance, because it's nutritional. I want to even recommend going to your doctor for a blood test. There's a lot of different things that we need to look at. Also, food sensitivities. And that's one of the things I want to bring up. I recommend everybody on the call, write this down, go to your doctor or go to a place that offers food sensitivity tests, because you might be eating something that is healthy, but for your body, it's not. Like, some people are lactose intolerant and some people are not. So this is not food allergies, it's food sensitivity. And so take a food sensitivity test. And what is the consequences and or symptoms of eating something that you're sensitive to? Sleeplessness. And so that's why we need to address many things. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions to dig out, like sifting for gold. And we're going to get there. I promise you, if nothing else, we're going to at least eliminate what it's not.
Great. Thanks for that, Dean. And thanks for so generously offering that. One other one that's kind of specific too. We have a caller on the line who has prostate cancer and is taking Lupron to remove testosterone. Can this person still build muscle?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And thank you. I've actually worked with people who've had prostate cancer. They've had so many treatments that they literally said they have zero testosterone on purpose. And the best thing that somebody could do under those circumstances is to build to the level of maintenance. Okay, in other words, you'll stop the muscle loss as age and lack of testosterone. So please don't go too crazy too fast. But what I want you to do is just start with weights just to get those muscles primed again. And then the answer is yes, but it won't be to the level of when you're through this, and you will get through this, when you're in remission and then you're off of the treatments, be patient. Your goal is to get well. Your goal is to follow the doctor's orders when it comes to the prescriptions, etc. And then on the other side of this, however long it takes, you can get back to it. However, eliminate the sugar. This is the 2-minute warning for somebody with cancer. Eliminate sugar, give the meds a chance to work, and I promise that if nothing else, it'll help along the way. Eliminating sugar doesn't cause cancer, sugar feeds cancer. When we know that, we respond accordingly. So the answer is yes, you can build to the level of maintenance.
Dean, thank you for all the insights you shared with us. I appreciate your energy, your passion, your enthusiasm for the topic, and you made it really fun. So great job, Matt. Thank you. Hey, for everybody on the call, in 24 hours from now, you're going to receive a recording of today's session, as well as links to several resources that from Dean, including advice for setting up a home gym. He has information on warnings about the effects of sugar, if you can believe it, and 40 ways to fight fat. I saw a lot of these handouts that'll be coming out to you, so they're really good. Want to thank everyone on this call for joining us in the series and for all the effort and the time you invest in our members. And I really appreciate you taking time to invest in yourself and take some time to join our wellness webinar. Please watch those emails about the next Recharge webinar. And Dean, again, outstanding. Really appreciate you. Thanks for being a longtime speaker in the Vistage community, and thanks for sharing your expertise with us today. Have a great day, everyone.